Hey everyone, it's triplemangothreat, and today we're talking about Ruric Thar the Unbowed. This was recently requested in one of the comments, and you can do the same, so be sure to comment below the next deck tech you'd like to see. So let's get right into the deck tech. Now I wanted to make this deck all about creatures. Our commander is Ruric Thar the Unbowed. For 4 red and a green, it's a 6/6 ogre warrior that has vigilance and reach. Ruric Thar the Unbowed attacks each combat if able, and whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, Ruric Thar deals 6 damage to that player. So when I saw this, I immediately thought, okay, let's do our best to not cast any non-creature spells. And the way we can do that is if we have no non-creature spells. So this deck is specifically all creatures and lands. Let's jump right into it. So starting with the ramp, we have cards like Arbor Elf, Elvish Mystic, Llanowar Elves, and Arboreal Grazer. Turn 1, we're going to be able to cast these if we have a forest, which is very likely, and these are going to help us ramp. They can tap for a green mana, or Arboreal Grazer, when it enters the battlefield, we can put a land from our hand onto the battlefield tapped. And what's really nice is it's a 0/3 with reach, and often we find ourselves attacked by flyers, and we can't really do anything about it. So this is going to help us be able to block one of those flyers. Another card I have to mention is Orcish Lumberjack. For 1 red, it's a 1/1 orc. We can tap it to sacrifice a forest. We can add 3 mana in any combination of red and green to our mana pool. This is a very powerful card, being able to get extra mana, and the forest can be tapped as well. So imagine tapping a forest, we get that green mana, we can tap Orcish Lumberjack, sacrifice that forest, and now we have the potential of 4 mana. This is a really powerful card, and this is going to help us cast our spells a lot sooner. Moving on to the removal of the deck, we have cards like Manglehorn, Reclamation Sage, Acidic Slime, and Sunder Shaman. If they enter the battlefield, they're destroying an artifact or enchantment or even a land. What's really nice about Manglehorn is that artifacts your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. This is really awesome, especially if they are playing a bunch of mana rocks. We're going to be slowing them down a lot with this card. Sunder Shaman, when it deals combat damage to a player, we can destroy target artifact or enchantment that player controls. So this is a constant thing we can be doing, and what's really nice is it can't be blocked by more than 1 creature, and it's a 5/5, so it's really unlikely they're going to be able to kill Sunder Shaman. With all the creatures in our deck, we have to have cards like Thorn Mammoth and Gruul Ragebeast. When they enter the battlefield or another creature we control enters the battlefield, we can fight up to 1 target creature we don't control. So all those creatures our opponents have, they're just going to be gone because all of our creatures are entering the battlefield and fighting them. When it comes to board wipes and only having creatures, it's kind of complicated. I came up with Silklash Spider. For 3 green, it's a 2/7 spider with reach, which again is really nice if they have flyers. We can pay X and 2 green, it deals X damage to each creature with flying. So this board wipe isn't going to hurt any of our creatures, and it's going to get rid of those pesky flyers that we're always dealing with. Now my favorite thing to talk about is the card draw of the deck. So let's talk about Beast Whisperer, Primordial Sage, and Soul of the Harvest. When we cast a creature spell or when a non-token creature spell enters the battlefield under our control, we get to draw cards. There is 60 creatures in this deck, so it's very likely we're going to be having them enter the battlefield and we're going to be casting them. So we're going to be drawing a lot of cards. We're even going to be drawing cards with Drum Hunter and Abzan Beastmaster by just having creatures on our battlefield that either have power 5 or greater, or that we just control the greatest toughness, or tied for the greatest toughness, which is very likely in this deck. Our commander is a 6/6, and Drum Hunter is also going to give us mana. Last for the card draw, I want to talk about Garruk's Horde for 5 green. It's a 7/7 beast, so this is a creature. It has trample, and we can play with the top card of our library revealed. You may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card. So technically, this isn't card draw, because we're not getting the card to our hand, but if it's a creature, and that's 60% of our deck, we can put that on the battlefield, as long as we can pay the mana for it, and this is a great card to have in the deck. Next up, we're talking about our token makers like Rampaging Ballast, Quartzwood Crasher, and Arasta of the Endless Web. When a land enters our battlefield under our control, we can create a 4/4 green beast creature token. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control with trample deal combat damage to a player, create an XX green dinosaur beast creature token with trample where X is the amount of damage those creatures dealt to that player. So if we just dealt damage with Quartzwood, which is 6, we get a 6/6 green dinosaur beast creature token with trample. This is an amazing card and not used as much as it should be. Arasta of the Endless Web is really nice because when an opponent casts an instant or sorcery, which means when they cast a non-creature spell, we're going to get a 1/2 green green spider creature token with reach. So again, we can block those flyers. We're making more creatures that we can hit our opponents with. And remember, our commander says whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, they're going to be taking 6, and we're going to make a token for ourselves. We also have tutors in the deck like Fierce Empath, Monvoli Beast Tracker, and Brutalizer Exarch. When they enter the battlefield, we can get a creature with 6 CMC or greater to our hand. With Monvoli, we can get a creature with Death Touch, Hexproof, Reach, or Trample, reveal it, and put it on top of our library. Brutalizer Exarch can make it where we can get a creature card, or we can put target non-creature permanent on the bottom of its owner's library. So this can be a removal spell in addition. So why is it important that we have these tutor cards? Well, we can get our win con End-Raze Forerunners. It has Trample, which Monvoli can target, and when it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 and Vigilance and Trample until end of turn. And this is a 7/7 with Vigilance, Haste, and Trample. This is a very powerful win con in the deck. And we're able to tutor it with our other tutors as well. There's more creatures in the deck that are all about Blood Rush, which means we can discard the card, pay some mana, and we can give target attacking creature +X/+X or whatever the amount is. So this is going to be a great combat trick that we can do to our opponents, especially with our commander, which is already a 6/6. So if we hit them once, the next time we hit them we can do one of these Blood Rush cards, and it will do a lot of damage. Last I want to talk about are the upgrades for this deck. So if you love this deck and you want to make it a little bit better, let's talk about the upgrades. Shaman of Forgotten Ways. It's a mana dork, but it also has Formidable, which means if we pay 9 and 2 green, or 11 mana total, we can tap it. Each player's life becomes the number of creatures he or she controls, which we have a lot, so this is great for us. Activate this ability only if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater. Already our commander is at 6 power. By adding Shaman of Forgotten Ways, we already meet that 8 power needed to be able to use his ability. So imagine if our opponents have no creatures. They're going to have 0 life and they will lose the game. And since we only have one board wipe for the deck, let's talk about Bane of Progress. This is going to be another board wipe. When it enters, we destroy all artifacts and enchantments, and we get to buff up Bane of Progress by giving him +1/+1 counters for each of those permanents destroyed this way. And last, I want to upgrade the lands in the deck, because the better the lands, the more we're going to be able to cast things early on and have our mana fixing. So we have lands like Firelit Thicket. We can tap it for a colorless, or if we give it a green or a red, we can tap it for red-red, red-green, or green-green. Sheltered Thicket. It has cycling, so if we don't need the land, we can always draw a card from it. Carplusion Forest, it taps for a colorless, or if we want colored mana, it's going to deal us 1 damage. Cinderglade enters the battlefield tapped unless we control 2 or more basic lands, which is very likely because we have 13 forests and 13 mountains. Mossfire Valley is a signet land, which means we pay 1, tap it, we can get red and a green. Copperline Gorge enters the battlefield tapped unless we control 2 or fewer lands, and we can tap it for a red and a green. Temple of Abandon does enter tapped, but when it enters we get to scry 1, which is better than just having a land enter tapped. And Rootbound Crag enters the battlefield tapped unless you control another mountain or a forest, which again is very likely because we have cards like Sheltered Thicket, Cinderglade, and Mountains and Forests. And the cards we'll be replacing with our upgrades will be 2 forests, 1 mountain, Clan Guildmage, Gruul Guildgate, Gruul Turf, Immolation Shaman, Kazandu Refuge, Rugged Highlands, and Timber Gorge. Again, we remove these lands because when they enter the battlefield, they gain us 1 life, or they just enter tapped, when we can be doing better things, like scrying. Or they just enter untapped, and we can tap them for mana right away, which is very powerful. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, hit that thumbs up button, comment below what deck tech you want to see next, and subscribe for more Mango content. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.